You're on CYInterview.
I'm Chris Shandek, featured columnist Jay Bilstein is with me today on CYInterview. We welcome back Ryan Kelsey of the Las Vegas Mail Revue Chippendales. Ryan, thanks for being back with us on CYInterview. How are you, sir?
Oh, I am excellent. Happy to be back at work.
Oh, I'm glad that you're back at work. So that's basically like the first question here. What was it like to be back at Chippendales when you guys reopened at the Rio? What's it been like so far?
I mean, it's been amazing. We were closed for 17 months, which is a long time. It's the longest I had not been on the stage since I was like 12 years old. But yeah, it was just that especially that first night back was so exhilarating. The crowds have been great. I know a lot of people have delayed their weddings due to COVID, and things are starting to happen again on that front. People had maybe skipped celebrating a birthday, or they're kind of doing like a 2-for-1 this year. So the crowds we've had have been so energetic and so fun, and just the atmosphere. I miss the guys so much. I mean, a lot of them I saw during quarantine. They're my dear friends anyway. But yeah, it's just every aspect of being back at work has been fantastic.
So what did you do during those 17 months?
A little bit of everything. I took the first couple months and just used it for mental health. And not only just dealing with being at home, but kind of unpacking any baggage I might have been carrying around from different events of my life, and trying to just make sure I was defining myself as a human being properly, and that I had my head in the right space, my heart in the right space, that I could go out and do good in the world. So yeah, I used my first couple months to just sort of get myself together, and it was honestly kind of nice. As much as I love being in the show, it was nice to not have to worry about my looks and my body for a little while. I can kind of loosen up the diet. I enjoy working out, but it's nice to not have to have such a regimen. Rely on that for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then past that, I put a lot of time and effort into my music. With my dance career, I haven't been able to, it's a great problem to have, but, I haven't necessarily always had the time for guitar and for music that I would like. So, I really put effort into not only getting better, but just writing and playing, and I started 2 different bands during quarantine. We played different venues around town once bars started to open back up. Took a little odds and ends jobs here, and I saw my family more than I've been able to in years. They all live here. I'm very fortunate for that. So just kind of digged and dunked, and did what I could to keep myself and those around me happy and healthy.
Well, speaking of being from the hometown of Las Vegas and being born here, you're from an entertainment show business family. So we talked a little bit about this in the first CYInterview we did with you and Jason a few years ago. But could you speak a little bit more about your family and what it was like to be from a show business family here in Las Vegas, and what it was like growing up in that?
Yeah. So my parents were both dancers in town. They met dancing at a theme park in Texas and decided to move to Las Vegas to be showboy and showgirl. They did a bunch of the old shows. They were both in Jubilee. They were both in Lido de Paris. My dad stayed through at the Stardust when it became Enter the Night. My dad did Solid Gold as well. So yeah, when my mom had my sister, she retired from dance. She has her master's in dance, so she became a dance teacher. And me and my sister grew up in the dance studio, which is why we're both dancers in town now. Yeah, it was fun. By the time I was old enough to remember anything, my mom was already teaching, but my dad worked at the Stardust until I was like 13 or 14 years old. So I remember every once in a while, the night would have, it was a topless review, but they would have a covered show where the girls would wear tan bras. And I remember on those nights, my mom would let me and my sister stay up late. We'd go see my dad perform at the show, and it was such a big deal, that beautiful theater that used to be at the Stardust. So yeah, I remember hanging out backstage. It was very, for anyone that's ever seen the movie Smoke and Ace, it was very much like Jeremy Piven's character, when they detail his life growing up, in the beginning of the movie. That was very much our life, going backstage at the shows and hanging out with showgirls. It was very fun. But besides that, it was that's wild. But then most of the childhood on nights, that was maybe once or twice a year. The rest of it was going to school and doing homework and skateboarding in the park, and it was pretty normal outside of that. But it was fun to have parents that that were in the industry, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for the great story. I always love those, Jay.
Ryan, as you began to talk and you said 17 months since you've been on stage, all of a sudden I heard Robert Plant singing. Been a long time since I rock and rolled. Been a long time since I did the stroll.
Yeah.
And my God, it has been a long time for performers, entertainers in Las Vegas, entertainers around the world, Broadway and so forth. You mentioned about being able to loosen up on the diet a bit. I read a kind of some scary numbers not all that long ago. One, I read something, I couldn't even believe this. I can't even believe it as I'm about to say. It said something like, people were gaining 30 pounds during the pandemic, and Chris and I saw a statistic the other day saying that, what was it, Chris, over 70% of the people in the United States are overweight, and I mean, these are tough times in more ways than one. So when you talk about loosening up on the diet, how tough was it for you and for your fellow performers to kind of get back into that peak condition that you're known for? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, might you be able to lend any insights into folks who are particularly struggling with, I'd call, the pandemic battle of the bulge?
Yeah. You know what? It wasn't too hard to get back. I just, had to jump into my old routines. But I think the reason it wasn't too hard to get back was that I took those months early on, really for mental health. And I was coming from a different place. I've been in the show. I just celebrated my 8-year anniversary in the show yesterday. So when quarantine happened, it was 6.5 years. And shows prior to that, big in shape, even if, doing Vegas the show or Pin Up or whatever, being physically fit and visually appealing on stage was still part of the job. I was to the point where, I was really kind of kicking my own ass about, staying in shape and nitpicking, every little thing that was wrong about my body and my perceived notion and really trying to make myself look as good as possible all the time. And if I didn't look as good all the time, then I wasn't good enough. And I was really in my head about a lot of it. So it was really, really healthy for me to take a break from, like, making myself try to be this Ken doll all the time, And so taking a break was the right thing at that time for me, just because it let me find value in myself that wasn't really defined by physicality, So when I finally felt like I was in a nice grounded place, it was fun to get it back instead of tenuous work, But yeah, it's mental health and physical health and even spiritual health are a lot more intertwined than I think a lot of people give it credit for. And if you're struggling mentally, it's really easy to let your body go a little bit, or depression eat, or any of those things. When I know those are the times when I'm like, if I cheat to eat a bad meal, kind of off the cuff, like, screw it, I'm just gonna get fast food today, or screw it, I'm just gonna do this. It's because I'm exhausted, or I'm in a bad mental state, or I'm rushing, or I'm not in a state of just calm happiness. Those aren't the times where you tend to make bad dietary choices. And yeah, I would say it's always so individual. For anyone that's struggling with the battle of the bulge, it really is so individual. The answer to that. But diet and exercise aren't, or they're about 50% of the battle. Each way. Like, diet is a huge part of it, and exercise is a huge part of it. Finding an exercise that you enjoy. Like, I like lifting weights, so that's why I go to the gym and lift. But finding an exercise you enjoy, whether it's taking a Zumba class or going for a walk, getting outside is usually a big answer. If you're struggling with where to start, going for a walk, getting a little sunlight on your face, those are natural, endorphin boosters and mood boosters. So like start small and like I would say journaling too can be a huge help. When you, I know it sounds tedious, but when you write down every single thing you eat, when you write down every exercise you do or don't do, and you see it as a list in front of you, that's where like I think sometimes people tend to like snack or like, oh, I'll just grab a handful of chips or I'll just grab this, grab that, and you kind of don't register as like, oh, this is what I ate today. So just writing everything down, seeing it in front of your face can usually give you a really clear vision of kind of where you're at and where you might want to improve.
You hit on something that is very powerful, and I think that is that when people are happy, or even better, happy is such a nebulous word, right with themselves, and that takes into account the mental state, the spiritual state, that it's easier to be right with yourself physically. If you're right with yourself emotionally, then all of a sudden we're not, going out to eat and having a nice meal once in a while I don't think is the culprit. I think the culprit is what we do every day. And if we're curling up in bed every night because we're unhappy with the state of ourselves spiritually, as you said, or emotionally, or the state of the world, and that's intertwined as well, and every night is a festival of, I don't know, and I'm not picking on potato chips, but, potato chips and soda, whatever, and you're sitting back in bed, and that's every night, yeah, it's going to bring us down, but it's a consequence of the way we feel. And I think you put a very fine point on it there. I also want to get into something else. Ryan, there are so many guys who I think who really haven't been exposed to this world who think, if I could only be like those guys, if I could only be the ultimate object of desire, then my life would be perfect. And anybody who's been around the entertainment business for any point in time knows, no, sorry, pal. Your life would not be perfect. There are a lot of pitfalls, there are a lot of pratfalls, and there are a lot of wonderful positives, but there are also some drawbacks. Could you speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, no, it's there's a responsibility with especially a show like ours that is incredibly interactive, and that I think I love Broadway as much as anyone. That's my background. Theater's my background. But I think if you're going to see Hamilton or Les Mis, there's a certain level of performance you're expecting out of it. But I don't think there's the same emotional connection to like the way it can like really affect the outcome of your day. Where if it's part of your bachelorette party or your one night in Vegas or your 50th birthday, or there's a lot of weight that we are really responsible for someone's evening and someone's big celebration, and we have the power to really make someone give someone a night they will remember for the rest of their life, or we could really take that away from them too if we're inconsiderate, or if we're misguiding the nature of the show for over sexualizing it. I know that sounds weird for our show, but it can very easily happen. So yeah, I think I've watched guys come in that are they look great and they're nice guys and they're great on stage. Also that not everyone that comes to our show realizes where the boundaries are. So there are nights we get grabbed when we're not really looking to get grabbed. There's nights we get scratched or get pushed or someone shoved into us, or there's nights we do a military number in the show that we have worked very hard to keep as classy and as respectful as possible, but there's people that have, like, I've been berated on stage for wearing an officer's uniform. I've been told I'm unpatriotic. I've been, things of that nature. So, there's a whole host of things that can be that can happen during our show, and I've seen great guys kind of wither under the pressure of someone that's inebriated our show, yelling something wildly inappropriate or doing something inappropriate, and if they melt down or can't handle the social responsibility of what we're trying to do, it can really be a problem. So there's a fine line between kind of standing your ground and still providing entertainment, and I'm happy to do it, but it's while we're doing it, that's, walking that fine line within yourself too. You got to always be on your game mentally, and you always got to be on your game physically, to prepare to entertain someone, but to not take it too far, to not fall short, and to, make sure that you're okay with, like I said before, within yourself, so that you're providing this night for other people, not at your own expense.
Well, you're a very self-reflective and introspective individual, and you're bringing out something important, and I think this is food for thought for people in general. All that glitters is not gold. Yes, you guys have to keep yourselves in tip-top shape. You are in the entertainment profession. You are putting on a professional review. But at the same time, there is an emotional burden, because this is intimate entertainment in the sense that in a lot of cases you have people who are coming to visit for what might well end up being a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, right? I mean,
correct.
Not everybody lives in a major city. Not everybody lives where there might be a Chippendales or might have been a Chippendales review or a similar review. This may be that special bachelorette party, and these folks may then go back to, small-town America or small-town wherever in the world. And this is a memory they're going to take with them, and that puts a lot of pressure on you guys, because it's not simply to look good. It's to be appealing in a friendly way and to elevate how the audience feels and how the audience feels about themselves, perhaps to get a certain kind of attention they may not have gotten in the past. And,
sure. And that's oh, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say that's a cornerstone of the what we consider, the Chippendales experience and what we do at the show. The physical aspect of the show is a large component, but is one component. We want our guys looking good. We want our guys to be tall, beautiful men who, strip down. But we want talented guys. We want guys that are willing to go to dance class and learn these routines. And it's the choreography in the show is top level stuff, we just had a number choreographed by one of Usher's backup dancers. We're doing technical stuff here, and then on top of that, we have we go in the crowd and do our crowd runs. We're masked up for that right now. But we interact with the crowd, and then after the show, there is a meet and greet in our bar that every single one of our guys goes to. And we are big on, there could be a guy that looks great and even dances great, but if he's rude or usually how I describe this, I use a bunch of four-letter words, so I'm trying to keep it clean here. But but yeah, if they are scummy or sleazy or just kind of being, maybe like what you would think of like a typical alpha bro. If they're acting like that in the bar, we will not have them in the show. The Chippendales experience is to, again, be appealing in a multifaceted way. And we want our guys to be kind, to be friendly, to be funny, to be flirty, and to be sexy. If someone's looking for that interaction of a little more, hands-on and intimate and things like that, of course we'll go there with them, but it's not the only way to experience our show. And that's not the only way I want my guys to be appealing. We want people coming out of there saying oh my God, they were so nice and he was fun and we wanted to take this crazy photo, or we were playing, we got this a lot of times at bachelorette parties we'll have a truth or dare bingo card game or a scavenger hunt. They got to play Wall in Vegas and take a photo with a shirtless guy or get picked up by someone. And we want our guys to be fun and accessible as people, and the experience to be well-rounded and not just about the physical nature of the show.
What's so interesting with what you said is the word that came to my mind is, besides the four-letter words, of course, and I come from New York City, so I come from New York City, and at the time I grew up, by now I probably have a few PhDs in four-letter words, but the basic bottom line is, the word you made me think of is, Ryan, is self-absorbed, right? Yeah. You don't want people who are self-absorbed or self-impressed. You want people who are there for the positive experience of the audience. Very, very interesting insights indeed. Chris?
Ryan, when are you guys back playing at the Rio? What are the days? Is it every night? What's the times? When can people come see you?
So we are Wednesday through Sunday at the Rio, Rio All Suites Hotel and Casino. And we have an 8 p.m. show Wednesday to Sunday. Right now we have a second show on Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. We will be adding a second show on Friday nights starting October 29th.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, we're glad to see that you're back on the Las Vegas stage as a homegrown entertainment and talent and entertainer here. So for Ryan Kelsey of the Chippendales, featured columnist Jay Bilstein, and CYInterview, I'm Christian.